What's going on, y'all? I wanted to make this video to talk about the media meltdown over the fact that a lot of mainstream media outlets or pretty big media conglomerates have had to downsize their staff because they're not making enough money and they don't have an effective staff. You had Huffington Post, Buzzfeed, Yahoo News, and AOL, among others, having to really size down. The funniest picture from that, of course, being the one writer, the Huffington Post opinion writer, who was like, the Covington kids are going to a misogynistic march, which is, I think, the March for Life. It's an anti-abortion march to save babies. I don't know how that's misogynistic, pretty strange. And then he said they're wearing racist apparel. Like, he's saying that one day, and the next day he's like, guys, I have some bad news. I got laid off, and our whole opinion staff got laid off. I never like to laugh when someone loses their job, but when you're lying for a living, you do bad opinions and you say that it's racist and sexist to stand there in a hat that supports the president, low taxes, personal liberties, among one of hundreds of reasons that you might support, conservatives or, to be honest, pragmatic liberals like President Trump. He's really not even that Republican. It's hard for me to really feel bad. And you have media figures like Chris Hayes from MSNBC. I think that's where he's from. I don't really pay attention to the mainstream media. But he's like, guys, we might have a crisis on our hands. We don't know what's going on. It may be impossible to ever make money with text-based news. Like, he thinks it's a big crisis because they can't figure out how to do well. And my first thought was like, with Buzzfeed, who would have known that guess which Disney princess character you are and guess which Harry Potter school you'd be in? And I'm Hufflepuff, I'm Ravenclaw. Who would have known that wasn't going to stand the test of time and the clickbait list articles wasn't going to make it? And the fact that BuzzFeed published a huge fake article like a few weeks ago that almost led to a national crisis about, oh, Trump's getting impeached. And then they're like, wait a second. It was so bad that even Robert Mueller's counsel, who will pretty much do anything to make Trump look bad, they even said, hey, we got to distance ourselves from this fake news. That's how bad it is. So that's BuzzFeed. Huffington Post, the legends who published the piece on Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer is racist, and then they're wondering why they're not making money. And the pathetic part about all this, and I don't mean to be mean because I'm really not trying to, but even if you're a writer for HuffPost or BuzzFeed, you should listen to what I'm saying. They're hiring hundreds of people who are like blue check mark journalists who have 2,000-3,000 followers on Twitter, and they're always mad. They don't have a big following. The reason I'm saying that is these corporations such as CNN, Washington Post, I believe BuzzFeed and Huffington Post got in on it. On YouTube, they actually rig the algorithm for them. So if you search a certain event, you won't find my video or maybe Mark Dice, Paul Joseph Watson, somebody like Jimmy Dore or Kyle Kalinske on the left who are more independent, but they have hundreds of thousands of views. We should come at the top a lot of times, but what they did was they rigged the Google search so you could only find mainstream media because they said, we're going to fight fake news, so we have to rig the algorithms. Facebook's doling out God knows how many millions of dollars, just handing it to people left and right, saying, we got to, like, they're losing money, they're having to down staff and outsource or whatever, get rid of staff, and they can't figure out why. Chris Hayes thinks it's some sort of existential crisis. What bothers me so much about that is it's just that they're actually not really good at what they do. Why is someone like myself or Paul Joseph Watson or even Kyle Kalinske on the left, Mark Dice on the right, we are one-man operations in many cases. I film all my own videos, I edit all my own videos, I do everything. I have hundreds of millions of views on Facebook. I just went from 3 million to 7 million on YouTube just in the last month or two. Why do you have hundreds of people working for you, writing terrible, terrible opinion articles about, attacking children, lying, calling everything racist, sexist, xenophobic? They're so delusional in their echo chamber that they think Rudolph is like an existential crisis to America. It's really pathetic. And that even goes for like liberals and progressives. I don't mind if you disagree with me, but Huffington Post is pretty pathetic. I mean, what they've become since Arianna Huffington sold them is a pathetic news organization. They're rigging algorithms, they're getting extra money, they're downsizing now, and they can't figure it out why they're losing. They don't have good people writing for them, and there's plenty of great people out there that clearly, for some reason, they don't want to work with. I'm not saying I'd even want to work there, but why wouldn't they reach out to me? I mean, in a week, I reach more than probably 50 employees. Like, they're paying probably 50 people. I don't know for sure, I'm just guessing. 50 people like 60,000 a year, 50, 40,000 a year, contracting them out, and they're not generating any revenue, any streams, any clicks. They don't have any superstars. And when you have a multi-million-dollar budget, why aren't you employing superstars? Someone like a Paul Joseph Watson or myself or others. I'm not even talking about myself. There's dozens of people that can actually make Huffington Post look cool or Buzzfeed look cool. And excuse me. When it comes to the internet, text-based news is on its way out, just like mainstream media is on its way out. And it's not a crisis like Chris Hayes wants to say, or the Buzzfeed people. No one likes you because you're not good enough. What do people like? Let's look at a successful business model. Joe Rogan has a genius business model. He podcasts, he talks to his friends or somebody smart or somebody, opinionative for 3 hours, gets millions of views, it gets millions upon hundreds of millions of downloads on podcast apps. He has sponsors, and then he chops those clips up into little clips, and those little clips get millions of views. So he's generating hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars, probably with a staff of 1, 2, 3, 4 people max. And that's the model. It's audio-based. People like podcasts, listening long form. They like video-based stuff. People like authenticity. They like the truth. Text-based stuff is not really the jam. I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm sure there's some websites who are doing really well with text-based, but text-based is kind of going out the window. It's like books turned into Amazon, turned into Kindle, turned into audiobooks, and people figured that out. Now Amazon took a big chunk of the book market. Amazon didn't cry and say, oh my goodness, books are going out. We have to rig all the algorithms for books, and we need to criticize everybody and call everyone fake and give ourselves millions of dollars. It's like, that's not what they have to do. HuffPost and all these other organizations, they've become such snobby, elitist echo chambers. First of all, what's really helped me out is one of the biggest audience, not just in America, in the world, is the silent majority. I'm talking about the 50, 60 million people who voted for Trump, the 40, 50 million people who stayed at home but were on the fence, the 10, 20, 30 billion people who like Bernie Sanders and feel disenfranchised, the 30, 40, 50 million normal classical liberals who feel displaced by this like supremacist LGBT agenda of everybody's racist, sexist, and xenophobic, but I'm low-key racist, sexist, and xenophobic, but if we call everyone else racist, sexist, and xenophobic, maybe no one will realize the fact that we, the Huffington Post and others, we're the most, horrific perpetrators of these hate crimes, although we're just always projection tacticking it onto other people. It's a bad strategy. So the silent majority is bigger than just Trump supporters. It's a lot of normal, level-headed people, and it spans, Canada, Brazil, South America, Middle East. I have supporters in, Israel. I have supporters in Germany, in UK, and Scotland, which is part of it, or I'm not sure if it is, as far as, England, Scotland, and such. Sorry if I mislabeled that. The silent majority is one of the biggest, most passionate, smartest, kindest groups in the country, in the world. And Huffington Post and BuzzFeed and Washington Post and AOL and Yahoo and all these, liberal outlets, NPR, who they pretend like they're middle, but they're really not, they don't cater to this audience. And not only do they not cater to them, and this is the sick, disgusting part, which is why I even started talking, not only do they not cater to them, they actively hate on them, and they try to crush them. They try to say, if you want to conserve your personal liberty and your American freedoms, many people came from Cuba. A lot of people came from Puerto Rico, came from, there's Native Americans who feel this way, Canadians, South Americans, Central Americans, Mexicans, Middle Easterns. It's not just white Americans, Anglo-Saxons or whatever. A lot of people appreciate the freedoms of America because it's one of the greatest countries to ever exist among all its flaws. And they say, if you feel that way, like I feel that way, like almost everyone I talk to on a daily basis feels that way, you're racist, you're sexist, you're xenophobic, there's no way you could possibly like low taxes, there's no possible way you could like, anti-socialism or maybe strong border security. And it's not just that I don't want to have a debate about these things. I'm willing to have it. I have a debate podcast called Make America Debate Again. They don't cater to these people. They act like they're the worst, most racist, sexist, xenophobic people in the world when it's a small fringe group. It's not like 98% of these people. And they just hate nonstop on them. And then they have opinion writers like this guy calling these 15-year-old kids in MAGA hats saying that they're misogynistic and such when there's no proof of that. Of course you're not going to be popular. Why are you working for Huffington Post getting God knows how much salary and others? No one follows you, no one likes you, barely anyone reads your articles unless it goes viral in a small echo chamber of like very angry people. Meanwhile, I'm getting 250 million views with no staff. I'm probably making more money than some of their employers by myself. You know, that's the business model. The business model that's going to work in the modern era is truth, authenticity, video format. I mean, I don't know anyone from Buzzfeed, or I can't say I watch that closely, but from Huffington Post, like, you're gonna pay someone $50,000-$60,000 a year, and they're not gonna be a superstar? Like, I wouldn't do it. There's so much out there. You know, if I ran a company, and I'm starting to, and I might, you know, get in that circus, I'll call it. It's not even a career path. It's like a circus of fools who just yell and hate on each other. That's why I'm moving in slow. But, you know, you got to hire somebody who's good. I know 50 people that are better than every single person I've ever seen work for Huffington Post. They're not only more popular, they're funnier, they're smarter, they're more honest, they're more accurate, they're better writers. Like, every which way, they're better. So it's hard for me to really feel bad for the media when I know why they're not being successful. They're not authentic enough. They're not genuine enough. They're not honest enough. They're not only not catering to, but hating half of the world, and not the right side of history. They're on the wrong side of history. It's like people who are standing up for the most vulnerable, people who want to conserve the little bit of freedom they have from the federal government, you know, infringing upon their rights. And they don't want to talk to these people, and they just hate. So it's kind of nice to see that they're downsizing and it's not working, because it shouldn't work. And another thing that's happening, not just in Apple's having trouble, a lot of these new age companies are having trouble, is because, you know, a lot of people aren't saying this, but another reason is they don't judge people based on content of character and qualifications and skill level. They're all about the affirmative action. We need more black women. We need this and that. And I love black women. It's like, you're the best for the job. Let's do it. We want to have somewhat diversity, whatever, you know, get certain sections and groups. I'm all for that stuff. Don't get me wrong. But I know these companies, as far as I'm seeing how they operate, and they don't want content of character. They don't want the best people. They're looking for like far left liberal people who just scream racism, sexism, and xenophobia. Even if they're not popular, if they're not well liked, if they have no following, they'll get a job before somebody with 400 million views with a built-in audience who says, hey, just me alone. Like, if I come to Buzzfeed, I'm bringing 6 to 7 figure value. I know this because I worked in digital marketing for 8-9 years. To buy what I get for free on Facebook every week, the millions of people I reach, it would cost between $20, $30 to $100, $200,000 a week. If you want to pay Facebook for the amount of reach I have organically, it's not easy to do. I have a big organic audience that spreads very quickly. We get millions of views a week. It costs 6 figures a week sometimes. So if you hire me onto BuzzFeed, or you hire me onto Huffington Post for $50, $60, $70,000 or lower, I'm bringing that inherent value. And these are, I'm not just saying me, but there's hundreds of people like myself, bigger or smaller, that bring inherent value, but they don't want inherent value. They don't want the most qualified people or the most honest people. They want these echo chamber, like, creepy, I have 20,000 cats, I'm like far left communist, I don't know how to judge people based on the individual. All I see is groups. It's like blacks, women, and then if you're like a black kid who likes anime or low taxes, they look at you with 500 heads and they're like, how in the world could you support Trump? It's like, well, I'm an individual, you know, just like this race or that race. We're not a monolithic group of, like, you know, mentally imprisoned people. We're free to feel how we want to feel. And what bothers me about how they treat conservatives is conservatives actually know what they think. I'm going to share this video tomorrow on my Facebook page, but David Harris Jr., my friend, he was out at the LA Women's March, and he was like, he had the MAGA hat on, and this girl who, like, you know, I'm sure she's a nice girl, but she looked like an alien kind of. She had like a face tat on the side. No disrespect to face tats, but I'm just saying, she looked all confused, shaved head. She's like, that hat's mean, it hurts my feelings. And he's like, what about facts? And she was like, facts don't matter, only emotions matter. And it's like, these people are driving themselves insane. And someone like David Harris Jr., he loves God, he loves conservative values, and he's very strong and intelligent. Like, he knows why he feels the way he feels, and he's right about how he feels. And then you have these people who have no idea why they feel the way they feel. They have no idea why, you know, David and millions of others feel the way they feel. but they're gung-ho on just hating on them and judging them and trying to drag them down. So yes, that business model does not work. When you look at the staff of Twitter, and like, once again, no disrespect, but you see the types of people they are. I'm not trying to judge based on what they look like, but you can tell they're only hiring like far leftist, you know, super soyed up people. And I don't say that to be mean, it's just so clear. Like, you can't work there. And I know people in certain industries, if you're moderate and you're like, hey guys, this doesn't make sense, like, let's judge people like MLK said, you can't stay there. They don't want you there. They'll oust you out. I've worked at a multi-million-dollar digital agency before I did this full time, and I'll tell you the truth without, you know, getting into specifics. There were 20, 30, 40 employees there, and they were maybe more, maybe less on certain projects. They didn't really know what they were doing in the social media department, and I'm very, very good at social media, and you guys see, just with my own audience, I don't have a team, I'm getting 250 million views, more than they were doing with multi-million-dollar contracts. And all I asked at these companies was like, hey, can you weigh my perspective? I didn't say to listen to me, I wasn't trying to be selfish, I just said, hey guys, like, a lot of you guys are older, you're not that good at social media, some of you guys are younger, you're great at other stuff, just consider what I'm saying. Just like I always tell my audience, consider my perspective, consider what I'm saying. And they would never consider what I was saying. They walked all over me. They, you know, they told me, get coffee or do this. They'd steal my work. Like, this woman would be like, hey, look at the PowerPoint I did. And everyone's like, that's great. And I really did it. So they're like fabricating my work, or at least like copying it and pretending like it's theirs. They're telling me to do, you know, things that don't matter. They're not listening to me. I quit the company. They offered to pay me more. I said, no, it's not worth my time. My time is value, and you're not valuing my time. I went on to create one of the biggest social media movements of, you know, the last 2 years. And I'm not the biggest. There's way bigger people than me. But, you know, some of the stuff I've done, I'm very fortunate and grateful. But I'm also proud, without being too prideful, of what I've built, because I don't have a manager. I don't have a team. I'm one of the only people that has done it this big with almost no one. Like, everything I do myself. I've been in interviews where they have a 10, 12 person staff. I'm a one-man operation, and you know, these people wouldn't listen to me. So at HuffPost, I know Tim Pool. He's an independent, like, lefty. He's like one of the last remaining truthful liberals out, and I always tell him, that's why he's always so confused and angry. He's like, I love Tim Pool, but he's always screaming and freaking out. It's like, Tim, you're freaking out because you still consider yourself a leftist, but you're realizing that your entire side's a phony. So I'm not saying he has to be conservative or change sides, but it's like, dude, if you still support socialism, yeah, it's like, that's why you're always so confused and angry. You got to get a grip. But he said the same thing. He used to work at, I believe, Vice and Fusion. Not to misquote, you could check out his page and see for more. But he said he pitched them this model that we're talking about, is like video content, like smart articles. Once again, I'm in different modes. I don't want people to think I'm like egotistic or anything. I'm really not, but I'm my own manager. I'm a digital consultant. I do marketing. I've led whole operation teams. So part of me is the content creator. Part of me is anomaly, like who I really am, the person, the human. Part of me is like the person, like, who I'm like, all right, this is what I'm doing. This is the value I bring. Like, when I say it's 6-figure value, that's just statistics. So, you know, I had a model for these people, as did Tim, and they don't want to listen. And even with the text-based articles, there's way, like, I look at Huffington Post and a lot of Buzzfeed, like, I could do better thumbnails, I could do better articles. I started my own website and I'm slow moving on it, but point I'm getting at is they have 100, 200, 300, 400, 500 staffers, who knows how many they laid off, 50, 60. I could do more and more efficient work than 60 people, 70 people, and that's not, it's kind of like when I say that I'm one of the more honest journalists. I'm not saying it to brag. I'm saying it disgusted, like, why is there no one else telling the truth? I shouldn't have to sit on my couch or sit here and tell the news. Like, I could be doing other things, but I do it because no one else is doing it right. Same with Huffington Post and Buzzfeed. Like, why are you hiring all these people who are not that talented, who are not that honest, who have no followings, who make terrible video content? There's enough really great people out there. They don't want to hire anybody who doesn't agree with them. And the thing is, not that many intelligent people who are very, you know, good at this stuff, not that many people will agree with them on politics, because a lot of their politics and social ideologies are like self-hatred, make excuses, victim mentality, like socialism, communism. You're not going to get your brightest minds all the time, or at least like most successful creators who live in that zone. It's like I look at all the Huffington Post writers, I'm bigger than all of them combined. And once again, I'm not bragging, but it's like, why are you doling out millions of dollars to people who aren't effective or efficient? They're not adapting to the new era of podcasts. You guys aren't making good podcasts. You're not making good video content. You're not making anything that's like valuable. You're putting out these really creepy, divisive, hateful, racist, sexist, everything you claim to be fighting against articles that are like super low level, super like I make fun of them and I get views off them. Like they thought Rudolph was racist. Rudolph is the story of an underdog. He had a weird nose. Everyone made fun of him. And then he became something. It's something that any white kid or black kid or woman or trans or any of these communities that they claim to be standing up for, Hispanics, you could watch Rudolph and be like, that's me. I'm the underdog. You know, I feel like the underdog in everything I do. I feel like I'm David versus Goliath all the time because no matter how much I do, people still do snake-like moves on me. It's like they don't want to book me or they do this and that. And it's like, what else do I really have to do? Like, do you want to pretend like I don't have 250 million views, 300 million views? I don't care because I'm happy and I like to be independent, but you don't want to work with me or you don't, I don't get it. Like everywhere I go, once again, I'm just being honest. People are saying hi, stopping me, this and that. I have inherent value for booking shows. I can bring people to a show. I have, you know, value when it comes to digital marketing, the strategy, the content creation, the audience, like everything you would want. I have that. It's a full circle approach to social media, and I have it all. And so do hundreds of other people, but they don't hire them. So when Buzzfeed and Yahoo and Huffington Post and all these people, they're losing money and they have to cut the opinion staff of like a bunch of useful idiots who were never that, you know, popular or good anyway, how am I supposed to feel bad? And like I said, I'm going to repeat because people don't understand how rigged the social media is. So they're failing because they're not good and they're not adapting to podcast, long format, video format, engaging stuff, authentic stuff. So they rigged Google on top of already having all the money to make it so their videos go at the top, a lot of the mainstream media. They still can't win, so now Facebook's talking about 10 million, 100 million. Google, they're giving them tens of millions of dollars, all of these weird, oh, we're going to give it to the Pulitzer Prize Foundation. Yeah, who's Pulitzer? Who works there? Is it people that are going to give me a journalist award or give like Project Veritas or somebody conservative a journalist award? No, they give Washington Post a journalist award for copying what Project Veritas do. It's a leftist organization. They just circle their money around. So they're cheating, they're lying, they give themselves money, they rig algorithms. Google's algorithms ridiculously rigged, so is YouTube, and they have hundreds of, you know, hate speech checkers and all these weird things that they justify to themselves. You know, Tim Cook from Apple saying, ooh, we're taking white supremacy music off of Apple Music. Like, I was joking with a friend today. It's like, dude, there's no such thing as white supremacy music. Like, there's very few white supremacists, and the ones that there are, they're not good musicians. So it's like they're focused on the 0.001%. I'll use a metaphor that goes with the police brutality thing. Police today, there was a weird story about like a Russian roulette. I mean, police can be corrupt for sure. I'm not backing up all bad police, but there's also a lot of good police who do good work. What I'm saying is, police brutality, if you really want to be honest about what's affecting black lives, it's not police brutality. It's like a 0.1% or very low. And then black on black violence and heart disease and opioids and car crashes, stuff like that is like 90-something%. So it's like, do you really care if you spend 99% of your energy on the 0.01 and then someone tells you about the other 90% and you say, no, you're right, you can't say that, you're Uncle Tom, you're a sellout, you're a bad person, you're racist. No, you don't. And that's what Huffington Post and Apple, that's what liberals have been doing. They lie to themselves so much, they surround themselves by liars, and people are sick of it. And even if they have an audience base that likes their lies, the truth is, the truth will set in eventually. If you don't judge people based on the value they bring to your company and you only judge them based on the social groups and their skin color, it's eventually going to catch up to your business model. If you're Apple and you think ending white supremacy music from the Apple Store is the big scoop to like a successful digital company and that's really the big problem there, it's gonna catch up to you. If you're MSNBC and you brainwash millions of people and you've been on this circus chase of telling them something's gonna happen that's not, and you've sold into the big lie that Trump is like the worst thing ever when he's really not, it's gonna catch up to you. If you're BuzzFeed and you're doing clickbait articles about Harry Potter and Disney princesses, it's gonna catch up to you. If you're writing about how racist Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer is when it's a story of an underdog, it's going to catch up to you. If you're hiring 100 people at $40, $50, $60,000 a year who write terrible opinion pieces that don't get that many clicks, that don't have an audience, and all of them combined aren't even equivalent to like one YouTuber like Mark Dice who sits in his kitchen and gets 1 million views every 2 days, it's going to catch up to you. And what's so annoying is that the liberal path, and conservatives are not perfect, but liberals are not learning. That's what I used to not like about conservatives. They're very stubborn. So it's like they're on a path of full destruction. They'll chop up babies at 8, 9 months in New York, and they'll call you all sorts of names if you protest about it. It's like they're psychopathic authoritarians that it's like, I'm not afraid because I'm not really scared, but like, what are they going to do now? You have Chris Hayes and all these Yahoo, like, they don't self-reflect. They lost the election. Just like when, Republicans lost some seats in the House or whatever. I'm like, reflect or you're going to lose again. And a lot of them are like, oh, it's this and that. No, you got to get better or else you're never going to win. And after the 2016 election, they just keep getting worse and worse and worse, and rigging and cheating and cheating and rigging and cheating and rigging and cheating and giving themselves money and giving themselves money. So when it finally catches up to them, I'm like, what more can you possibly do? They've already rigged all the social media. They've kicked off some of their biggest competitors. Laura Loomer was getting really big on Twitter. I'm not saying that they needed to hire her, but like, why is one Jewish conservative girl, why is she more popular on Twitter than 50 of your employees? Doesn't that make you wonder? And then they kick her off. How come Alex Jones has built a following and a business model that, he's a multimillionaire and, you're going broke? Why? Kick him off. It's like they'd rather kick everyone out of their existence than to actually learn and get better and evolve and grow and understand and comprehend that hating on the silent majority that's growing and growing. And even, my normal liberal friends are like, I have friends that might lean left and they don't like Trump, but they hate this like creepy SJW, Rudolph is racist. They think it's the funniest, stupidest thing. I talk to, Spanish people on the job a lot, and some of them lean left, but they don't like the SJW stuff. Like a lot of these Hispanic cultures, they don't play that nonsense, the overt, like, extremist, like, cultural Marxism. No one likes that stuff. It's very, very unpopular because they've catered. I'll give another metaphor. It's like how they talk about transgenders 50% of the time. No matter what you feel about the transgender community, much love and respect to everyone, it's a very small percentage. So when you're catering your whole movement and your whole audience to a 0.05% or something, it's not a good idea. And then they hate everyone out. Like, it's so goofy. So the reason I wanted to make this stream is because I really wanted to talk about, not only do I understand, the video model, and I have a good model myself, I'm just growing rapidly. One-man team, growing, because I get what's going on. And I've got BuzzFeed's never hit me up, Vice has never hit me up. They find out that I don't hate Trump, and no one wants to take a meeting with me anymore. All of a sudden, they're not interested in working because I tell the truth. And I don't care. Even conservative people who should be booking me and doing stuff are, shading me with disrespect, and I don't care. I'm just saying, it's like, do you want me to feel sorry when you're making mistakes, but you don't even reach out to me or others who can help you or work with you? It's ridiculous. So BuzzFeed, Yahoo, Huffington Post, and many others, multiple reasons for these layoffs. One, text-based news is not the wave. Podcasting is getting popular, videos are getting popular, audio is getting popular. It's not text-based. That's a dying industry anyway. Secondly, authenticity and connecting with your audience is a big thing. PewDiePie is the #1 YouTuber, if you guys don't know. Why is he number one? He's very funny, he's kind of sarcastic, but also he's authentic, and he's like he crushes that SJW, like, extreme cultural Marxist nonsense, and everyone loves it. That's why he's the most popular, because people tend to, hover towards authenticity, even if it's something I don't agree with. Like, people don't want to be lied to anymore, and they have a lot of options. If there's only 5 television stations, yeah, I might watch 60 Minutes because I have to, but when you have 1,000 options, you get to pick the best person. And the truth is, the people on TV and Buzzfeed and Huffington Post, they're not the best. So, people don't tune in. So it's multiple things, and it's also everything from business model to how they write to every aspect of it, from who they employ to what they write to how they do it to how they present it. I have no problem adapting, and I've always done that. As far as a lot of my friends too, and not a lot of my friends, but like I have dozens of friends who work in social media marketing, and a lot of people do well and some people don't, and some people do well with music and then they fall off. But like, you have to adapt, and you can't make excuses. No matter shadow bans, and I've got 24-hour bans, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I'm booming on all of these platforms because I don't make excuses. I adapt and I evolved, and I don't just say, oh, I'm getting shadow banned. Like, I'm like, okay, I need to do this, and this, because like, some people are getting shadow banned. Obviously, some people are getting kicked off Facebook. You could tell, but to be honest, like 80 to 70% of people who say that, 30% it's true, Laura Loomer and such, but 70% they're just not good at it. They don't make good content. I know if I make a great video, it'll get 1 million views. If it's an okay video or it's not a timely video, it gets 300,000 views. If my video gets 50,000 views, I don't say, oh no, they're banning. I'm just like, oh, it's not good enough. I need to make a better one. And guess what? Every time I make a better one, or it's a better timing, I get 1 million views again. I'm not being shadow banned. I'm sure they might be doing some stuff. Sometimes people say they're unfollowed. Yeah, I'm sure they are doing stuff to hold me back, but whatever. Like I said, David and Goliath, I'll get over it. And at a certain point, people are gonna find me. Like, if people really care, they'll figure out how to watch it. And YouTube's growing, Facebook's growing. This could be the platform for BuzzFeed and Huffington Post, but liberals fail socially now. They fail economically. They fail business-wise. I tweeted the other day, and I wasn't trying to be mean. It's like, I'm not left versus right. I'm truth versus falsities and fiction. It just so happens, and like I said, the right makes mistakes too. The left is wrong about almost everything. Socially, they're going too far. They're being racist and sexist. They judge the group instead of the individual. Economically, I don't agree with it. They're trying to go far Marxist, like, communist, which doesn't work for the same reasons as I just talked about socially. Everything that they're doing, from journalism, it's not honest. It's not that I'm like choosing sides. There's leftist ideologies and leftist arguments that, if you're intelligent, they can make sense as far as like debating them. But I just find that on the left, they're wrong about almost everything, but they don't want to have the conversation and open the door to figure that out. They're on a path to hell, and they say that the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And that's very clear. So I'm guessing there's going to be more media layoffs in the next couple months. And a lot of these organizations are going to go down because it's not working. People would rather listen to Joe Rogan or Jordan Peterson or Owen Benjamin or, people on the left. Like, I would. Are you kidding me? I listen to Owen Benjamin. And then I listen to someone on the news. Like, you could tell that they're frauds, and you could tell that they're not believable. It's not entertaining. It's not funny. It's not, like, it doesn't need to be so stiff and like, it's not fun, and it's not. It's intellectually offensive. Like, you can make me think. You can question me. I love that stuff. I listen to everything. But if you lie to me and treat me like I'm a moron, I don't have time for it. It's like offensive, and that's a lot of old media, and like Huffington Post and BuzzFeed. I can't think of a single time in the last year, maybe 1 or 2 times, where they actually did good journalism. And most of the time, it was either the BuzzFeed investigative unit, which probably didn't get laid off, and the Huffington Post from like 6 years ago. I always reference the one about the border crossing rape rate, which is from 2014, back before they lost their minds, before Trump came in. So show this to anybody if you want that thinks that there's an existential media crisis. It's absolutely false. It's like if the taxi industry said, there's a crisis that no one wants to take taxis anymore. No, it's because Uber and Lyft are significantly better. They're cheaper. They're better drivers, there's faster routes, like everything you could possibly want, better applications, in your phone. Uber and Lyft were just better on every level. price-wise, functionality-wise, and they won. You can't be a taxi company and say, oh, it's a crisis, Chris Hayes, we have a crisis. No, Buzzfeed, Yahoo, AOL, Huff Post, they're losing the podcast market, they're losing the video market, they're losing the audio market, they're losing the social media market, and they've employed hundreds upon thousands of staff members who are not that good. And it's a waste of money. There's so many amazing people out there, and I just want to say before I end this, I'm so grateful. In a weird way, I'm so grateful the news is terrible. I'm so grateful that they're lying. I'm so grateful that they're hating good people, not because I want that to happen. It's awful. I'm grateful because some of the best, smartest, kindest, most unique, authentic, genuine people in the world didn't have a place to go. So I've got to connect with these people, and I've been meeting them in person like every day now. It's beautiful. Thank you so much for neglecting the world's best people, because now they found a home with me and others, and I'm very grateful that they turned their back on half the world. That's the greatest. They say that in times of chaos is when you could level up, and this Trump era has been beautiful for a lot of people because there's a lot of chaos and there's a lot of incompetence, and it's not a bad thing. I know a lot of people are like, it's crazy. Start a business then. Start your own. A lot of people said, Anomaly, you inspired me. I'm going to start a YouTube channel or podcast. I hope you do, and I hope it goes wonderful, and I hope you're authentic, and I hope you're honest, and I hope one more thing. Just know that it took me, I did rap videos since 2008, so it's a learning experience. I wasn't always this good. I'm actually not, I wasn't always good at public speaking. I used to get nervous at rap shows, and I did horrible. I'm not like a naturally outgoing person. I'm definitely smart, but I'm like an introvert, extrovert, where I get nervous in big groups, and when I got called on by the teacher, I'd sweat and stuff. So this is like, it's a lot of work and a lot of growing. So just don't be afraid to make mistakes. Don't be afraid to start. The biggest problem people have is that they don't want to start. They want to hold on to stuff, and they're afraid that it's not going to go well. And the truth is, it's unless you're like very lucky and fortunate, it's probably not going to go well at the beginning, but you have to, it's like a staircase. You have to do that to actually go well. So don't be afraid, and definitely if you want to do that, do it, because it is the greatest time ever to start something, and people are seeking the truth and authenticity because it's been deprived in many industries, in the health industry, music industry, and the video and news industry. So use these times of chaos to build. And if anybody from Huffington Post or Buzzfeed, AOL, Yahoo, if you got laid off, God bless you, good luck finding new work, but also consider what I'm saying, and please try to look at conservatives and libertarians and people who support Trump and Bolsonaro and Brexit and, all over the world, immigrants, the 52 million Hispanic citizens who are here who don't, I guess share that much in common with illegal immigrants. Like, listen to everyone's story, because I don't know how they can go on like this and just hate viciously so many people like they do. They hate so many people in the world, and it's not just that they hate them, they're wrong and they're lying. Like I've just in the last 2 weeks, I've heard 20 stories, and at least like 10 really good ones of like different ethnicities, families. Someone told me he went to jail for 10 years and turned his life around, has a business, like really beautiful people with amazing stories, and they're not racist, sexist, like it's the total opposite. They're in interracial marriages, and they have kids that are mixed, and like they're the furthest thing from racist. They're just smart, and they're not like psychopathic leftists who think it's a good idea to say that Rudolph is racist and do Harry Potter quizzes every day. Like that was cool for a while, but like please connect with the silent majority, conservatives, libertarians, and people who like Trump, because you might just find there's a lot of variety, diversity over there, and also there's a lot of valid arguments. And I'm willing to debate anyone, every argument. I don't know, like leftists have chose emotion over logic. They've chose virtue signaling over actual virtue. They've chose foolishness and weakness over kindness and compassion. You could be kind and compassionate without being foolish and weak. And being foolish and weak, as I always say, it's not kind. It's like kindness is not weakness. Foolishness is not compassion. They're different things, and they've been conflated on the left, and it's a huge problem. Thank you guys for listening. God bless you. Have a good week, and I'll be back soon.